Today's a really exciting day. We're going to be getting a package from Jodi P, and it's going to be 8 to 10 of her beautiful reticulated Hillstream Loaches. Thank you, Jodi, very much. That's very sweet of you. And I want to also throw a shout out to Jodi P. She's been helping me a lot with breeding my spotted Hillstream Loaches. She's given me a lot of advice, as well as a few other people. Today, we're going to be getting this 40-gallon setup for the reticulated Hillstream Loaches. Right now, it's got a group of juvenile Bosemani rainbow fish in it, as well as one super red pleco. I don't know if you can see him kind of hiding underneath the wood. I think the only fish I'm going to remove from here is the super red pleco because I could see him kind of hoovering up Hillstream eggs and really just getting in the way of the breeding. As far as my research and what Jodi tells me, rainbow fish are great tank mates for Hillstream Loaches. These ones that we're going to be getting in the mail today are pretty small. So we probably got about a year at least until they start breeding from what I've been reading. So I'm not gonna worry too much about getting them to breed right away. I just want them to make them happy, give them some hiding spots, and set them up for long-term success. I have a few snails in here, but I'm not gonna worry about that. I'll take out as many as I can. Also have quite a bit of black-beard algae. Again, not really gonna worry about that. I think it's natural and I don't think it's going to bother the fish at all. So a little about this tank behind me. It's a 40-gallon breeder. I love this size tank because I like how deep it is front to back. I think it's about 36 inches lengthwise, so it's about 3 feet. It'll be plenty of room for a nice little colony of Hillstream Loaches. I am going to plan on keeping these Bosemani in here. At first I wasn't going to, but the Loaches I'm getting today are not going to breed for quite a while, so there's no rush in getting them breeding at this moment. I just want to get them comfortable, happy, and get them growing. The couch is right behind us, and obviously the pond's right here because you can see there's my favorite Monstera leaf ever. Anyway, this is just a grow out tank for my Bosemani rainbow fish at this point, but there will always probably be some kind of rainbow in this tank, and I think it's just going to be one species of rainbows and the Hillstream Loaches. So what we're going to do today is I think we're going to do about a 50% water change. This is on the automatic water change system, so it gets about a 5 to 10% water change every night anyway. But I'm gonna check the nitrates, just kind of gauge how this tank's doing. I do have a couple potted plants. I think I've got some Stellatus octopus over here, and I've got some green rotala over here. I have some roots in this upper left-hand corner. That's from this giant pothos that's just completely growing like bonkers out of this tank. For a light on this tank, we've got one Barina grow light. It's the, I believe it's in the 5,000 Kelvin range, so it's a little more of a warm light. Typically, I go for more of a 6,500 Kelvin when I have the choice, but these warmer lights are growing on me. They kind of mimic sunlight, and I don't mind the way that they make the fish look. I think they actually make the fish look really nice, especially when you're dealing with red or orange fish like the Bosemani behind me. And these guys are still pretty small, but I'm already starting to see some orange in the tail, so that's a good sign. For filtration, we've got one Seachem Tidal hang on the back filter. I think it's a 75, if I remember right, Tidal 75. I always try to double the gallonage with those filters. I do love those filters quite a bit. Also for filtration, I've got two large sponge filters. They are completely coated in blackbeard algae. This one's completely coated. This one's not so much. It's a completely different mindset when you breed fish versus aquascaping. When I was aquascaping tanks, I'd be so bothered by the smallest bit of blackbeard algae. But when you're breeding fish, the fish don't care. It's just another natural element that they might encounter in their environment anyway. And algae is actually one of the oldest life forms on this planet. So you have to respect it. And it's just telling me that something's probably a little out of whack. Maybe I need a little bit more plant growth in here. Maybe I need a little less light, you know, but each tank in this fish room right now gets 12 hours of light, and these grow lights are actually very powerful. So if I reduce the lighting, I probably would see a reduction in algae. As far as the Hillstreams go, you actually want to get a nice base layer of algae on the rock. From what I've been reading, they'll actually graze on the microorganisms that live in the algae. And Jodi also tells me to leave the mulm for the first few weeks or months while the fry are being born, because they'll graze on microorganisms in the mulm as well. Like I said, I do have some nice pothos growing out the top of it. I've also got some potted plants that have just been chilling on top of the tank forever, including this, I believe this is some kind of vine, or ivy, I mean. So to give you an idea of where this tank is at, these are the doors to the fish room. As soon as you walk in, it's that tank right in the middle, the first rack of 40s, it's this middle tank. And one thing I was a little nervous about My gas heater is right on this wall right here, and this tank is right here. So this tank actually does get quite warm. I thought it might be a little too warm for the Hillstreams because they're known to be like a cooler water fish. But after testing the water, it's really not that bad. I think it's like 80 degrees. And I could probably run this tank a little cooler. I wouldn't want to keep them any warmer than 80 degrees, but I think 80 is still okay. And like I said, I'll figure out a way to cool this tank down a little bit. In the summer, this tank will be a lot cooler because that heater really doesn't run very much. So this room is just a lot more equal temperature wise. For TDS, we've got 114. That's not bad. That's about what I run my tanks at. I shoot for about a TDS of 120 in all my tanks, just to have some kind of standard, which is pretty soft. If you don't know, I actually use all reverse osmosis water. It does not run through a DI resin cartridge, so it comes out at about 30 or 40 parts per million. KH of 3, and I remineralize with Seachem Equilibrium. So I just tested the nitrate with one of these cheap strips, and it's showing 0, so it's somewhere between 0 and 20. And no nitrite, obviously. pH is right around 6.5. So in this case, I'm just gonna get the stuff off the bottom, and I think we are gonna throw some sand in here. Bennett wants to wash his hands in the water change water. That's cool. And these filters, these Seachem titles, I'm not saying to do this, but when I do a water change on tanks, I don't even ever unplug them. I just let them rip, and they'll suck air for sometimes half an hour. I'm not saying it's good for the filter, but I've never had any issues. So besides the skimmer, I love these Seachem title hang on the backs. But yeah, so I mean, I never unplug them. They just rip, and sometimes I forget about it. Now we're just gonna give the sponge filters a quick clean, because it's been a little bit since I've done that. We'll give them a good old squish. I don't like when they get covered in blackbeard algae like this one, but what are you gonna do? Maybe I'll replace it at some point. This way's closed. Hey, no thank you. No thank you. Hey, hey. All right, the next thing we're gonna do is add some sand. I got this pool filter sand on clearance at Meijer grocery store. It was like $5 a bag. So it's not as nice as this red flint sand that I use. Really enjoy that sand, but it's okay. I'm trying to save some money, and when I don't have to spend a whole lot on something like sand, I'm gonna always do the cheaper option. And this should still be pretty good. I haven't rinsed it, but hopefully it doesn't make the water too cloudy. I'm just gonna put like a light layer in there so they can sift through the sand. Like I said, I'm just gonna do a nice light layer of sand. I think I'm gonna keep those potted plants in here, just keep them towards the back. I like sand, but I'm not a fan of how washed out some fish look with sand. Especially being a rainbow fish guy, I opt for like a black substrate usually. But in this case, there's gonna be so many rocks on top of this that I don't think it's gonna interfere too much. And this tank's really gonna be more about the Hillstreams than anything. Plants will bring out a lot of the fish colors. So this isn't really making the water too cloudy. So I'm happy with how this is looking. And I actually like how it's like brightening up the tank. Kind of makes the tank look a little bit bigger. And it's a little weird doing this with fish in here already, but they don't seem to mind too much. Just trying not to bury any of them, keeping my sand very low to the ground and just dumping it directly onto the bottom. And then smoothing it out with my hand. It's actually super satisfying for some reason. So I got the sand added, and moving it around a lot definitely caused some sand dust to kick up and really cause an issue with cloudiness. So we're just gonna drain a little bit more water out of here. And I found that I'm actually close enough to the sink that I can use my siphon and go straight to my sink. So I'm just gonna let that go while we start putting some big rocks in here. I don't want to say aquascaping it, but we're trying to make it look pretty cool. Are you going night-night? To be young and have hair again. So So here's some rocks that I gathered from outside. I either had them left over from the landscape company or I found them actually in the woods, which makes me think previous owners maybe were using them in landscaping as well. I'm going to give them a quick rinse-a-rooski because they're kind of dirty. And then we're gonna plop them in the tank very carefully because we got lots of babies swimming around. Look at all those little Bosemani. Oh, that was loud. Doing this with a 2-year-old has been a real challenge. You really gotta watch him. And he's always getting into something. What are you doing? He's just up to no good. I like these rocks though because they're all different colors. Most of them are really smooth, which I think the Hillstreams will appreciate. So we're gonna get some of these big dogs in there first, like this guy. And I might put these towards the front, just so that maybe the fish will be kind of chilling on it and I'll get a better look at them. But I just have to be really careful that I don't squish anyone. I think it's gonna end up being less stressful not to move these fish rather than net them all out and then put them all right back in, and that just seems silly to me. I'll just be careful. First rock in, we got a lot more to go. Yeah, and there's no rhyme or reason to this. I mean, I could take my time and make it look really cool, but I'm not gonna worry about it. Doesn't need to look cool. It's for breeding and for the fish. I want them to like it. Doesn't really matter what I think. I mean, I want to enjoy it too, but I will enjoy it. Yeah, I'll just kind of place them randomly. Eventually, once I fill this back up, I'm just gonna start dumping little rocks in there. It's gonna look really cool, man. I like these river rocks. They just have so much character. Each one's a different color and different shape. Just reminds me of being a kid and playing in the river. I did that every year growing up. So we'll let this water get a little lower and then we'll just refill it because we'll probably have to go upstairs soon and have lunch. And the package Jodi sent me should be arriving somewhat soon. Got all this like all these weird bubbles in here from the sand. That reminds me of the rivers I used to play in too. I used to come up to like a spot in the river where there'd be rapids and you'd always find a lot of foam. I don't know what it is, if it's like a protein. Anyone else ever like, can you relate? Getting your hands in the water just feels good. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like some kind of therapeutic feeling, but getting your hands wet just feels good. There's something about it. Just really like it. Maybe what I'll do is I'll leave a little bit of open swim room in the front in case they want to come out and frolic. But I'll throw some like Rapashi and stuff in the front, and they'll come out and kind of play around up there and have a little room to like play in the sand. Maybe I'll do that. That'd be kind of cool. And I think aesthetically it would look nice too. Not have to have rocks right up against the glass. So yeah, I ended up doing about a 90% water change, probably a little more on this tank, which is fine. Rainbows love water changes, and baby rainbows really love it because it makes them grow even faster. So I've got a nice base layer of big rocks on the bottom now. It's almost lunchtime, so I'm gonna have to take a break here. But we're gonna fill the tank back up, let it clear up. We'll get the sponge filters back in. Got a piece of algae-laden wood that we'll throw back in there. I'm also thinking about adding some mature stones that have a really good buildup of algae on them already into this system, just to kind of kickstart that algae. And I'm gonna add a bunch of fertilizer too, but we'll get to that. We are gonna let that tank settle in. I just fill it up with water. I intentionally left a little bit of water out so we can add more stones. And Jodi P's box just got here. And I'm gonna open that up and show you guys what we got. The Bosemani look really happy though, and I'm already really loving the way this tank looks. So, Jodi P sent me this box, some really cool stickers too. I love how reflective they are. Gotta find a cool place for this in the fish room. A nice handwritten note. Thank you very much for that. And some gorgeous Hillstream Loaches. Packed very well, the same way Dan's Fish does it. and I'm not sure if you're gonna really be able to see. I'm gonna have to use my cell phone. But it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 beauties. And I've already checked, they are all look really good. She did a really nice job packaging these fish, they look really good. So let me get my cell phone so we can get a better look at them, and then we're gonna start floating them because it's lunchtime. The bags felt pretty warm actually, but I'm gonna let them acclimate to the temperature of the tank. So we're gonna go have some lunch because I got a very grumpy boy over here. And I'll turn this light off. Alexa, turn 1 off. I named all these lights like 1, 2, 3, 4, just I think 5, just so that I could remember. It's just easier to remember instead of saying 40 breeder rack, back 20 high rack. So the kids and I just had lunch, and I've been acclimating these guys. Every 5 minutes I've been just putting like a shot glass worth of water in here and dumping it out and putting more in. So they've been acclimating for like 30 minutes. They're ready to rock. And they have colored up quite a bit just since getting out of the bags. Look at that. You'd never know these guys were just shipped. Look at the color on them already. Oh my goodness. They're already looking really good. I can't believe how fast they colored up. Usually fish don't color up this fast. Look at the coloration and the pattern on this reticulated Hillstream Loach. What a neat fish. I want to finish putting rocks in this tank before I put these guys in here, just so I don't accidentally squish them. They're going to do like a little fine gravel right in the front here. Leave this like sandy beach area open just so they can kind of come out and swim around. Then we'll get them in there. I can't believe that's beautiful. They're so beautiful. All right, well, I'm super happy with how this is turning out. I might just add a little more gravel around the edges of the rock and sprinkle a little bit more of the pebbles in there at a later date. But for now, I'm super happy with how this looks. Lots of flat surfaces for them to graze on, and a lot of little crevices for fry to hide in. This leaf actually covers up like a quarter of the tank, so you have to kind of move it. But super happy with it. The Bosemani are swimming around. They seem really happy with it too. So I'm going to add these guys now, and then we're going to start trying to grow algae on these rocks. Try to get a good video of them getting released. I don't know. I never quite get this shot, so we'll do our best. That's all of them. And just like that, I don't know where they went. Oh, I see one. They might not be as shy as you would think, because they've got a lot of Bosemani swimming around. That might make them feel a lot more comfortable. I think they're going to hide for a little bit while they get used to the tank. And I don't know. I mean, I'm looking around and I'm seeing a bunch of them already. My spotted Hillstreams have been breeding in this 20 long. And I've been doing a pretty good job of growing algae on these rocks. I don't want to cross these species, but I think I can probably grab a few rocks out of here, give them a quick rinse, and here's another rock with some algae on it. Look at, there's where the algae's growing. That's where the rock just was sitting. I actually like the way it looks with the algae growing. It looks more natural to me. I don't even scrape the glass in this tank. I actually try not to disturb this tank as much as possible. Alright, so give these guys a quick rinse in the sink, just in case there's any eggs on there, because I don't want to cross these species. And what we're gonna do to grow algae on these rocks is we're just gonna add some extra fertilizer to this tank and blast the light. I'm gonna try to keep a lot of the floating plants off the top. So I'll probably scoop a lot of these out because I want algae to kind of win the battle for once. So there's the underside of this rock. See how there's no algae on it? Very little. There's the green algae. We'll put this right there. Whoop, the doodle. I have no idea if this is going to actually help kickstart the algae, but it can't hurt. You know, couldn't hurt. So there's the underside of the rock. There's the side with a little bit of algae. Looks like you got some bonus moss on here too. That's cool. So put this over here. And I think we got one more rock. That beautiful algae. There we go. Got 3 stones with a little bit of algae on them, just to hopefully kickstart the algae. What is this doing up here? This is Thrive C. It's like Thrive's diluted formula because regular Thrive has a ton of nitrates in it. I do 1 pump per 20 gallons weekly. So we'll do maybe 1, 2, do an extra one. Boom. Of course, because I did that, the floating plants are going to just explode with growth, so I'll have to remove a lot of those. Like every day I'll just rip some out. I want this surface of this water to remain open so these rocks get blasted with light. But yeah, I'm looking around. I'm already seeing the Hillstreams. How cool. They seem totally happy. Oh, there's one. Dee dee dee. It's like, what gives? Where's the algae, man? Let's feed. I got lots of foods that I think they would like. Let's give them some of Corey's Magic Nano Feed. Because I know the rainbows love this too. We're just going to be dangerous and just dump it in because I don't want to get it all wet. Thank you, Corey, for sending me this food. It's so good that I'm almost out, and I just bought another one. I absolutely love it. For anyone with small fish, it will work, but especially for someone that's a breeder like me who's bringing up a lot of baby fish, it is a great food. I smell something good. Oh yeah. I think that's one way to know if you've got healthy fish. When they're that active and they're just chowing down when it's time to eat. I mean, these guys were in a bag about an hour ago. Look how happy they are already. So it's obvious that Jodi's been taking really good care of them and raising some really, really healthy fish. Yeah, look at how active those guys are. And they're not even scared. I'm actually really surprised at how brave they're being. They're just coming right out. Excellent. So now if I sit back in my chair, oh yeah, that's going to be a cool tank to watch. Bosemani and reticulated Hillstream Loaches. Awesome. I'm going to finish filling up this tank and then we'll just let them be for a little bit. And just like I thought, putting these big rocks in the front, I can see loaches from here. It's going to be fun catching them out of this tank, but we'll worry about that when they start breeding. For now, we are going to enjoy this tank. For the final touches of this Hillstream tank, I think I just need a few more plants. And luckily, I know where to find some. This 90-gallon aquarium's home to my Rosario LaCourte Bosemani. And it's got an absolute monster of a Java fern right in the middle. So I'm just going to take a pretty generous pinch off of that. because there's definitely some to spare. And then I think I'm gonna take this whole Anubias plant right here, because it's kind of just bumping into the glass. And I've got more Anubias coming out this way that I can always like cut and propagate. So I'm just gonna take this whole piece here and like a big pinch of this. We got some nice healthy clumps of Java fern. And I just literally tore this out. It's huge. And I got another clump right here next to this one. And then this Anubias was bigger than I thought it was going to be. Look how big this Anubias is. A nice size Anubias. So I'm gonna stick those into the tank and just, I think it's really going to kind of complete the look. Thank you so much for joining me with this simple build. I really don't think reticulated Hillstream Loaches are that fussy, according to the research that I've found online. And I think that today we've created an environment that hopefully they'll thrive in and grow really nicely and someday breed in. So once again, thank you, Jodi, so much for the beautiful fish. They are absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to watch them grow up in here. And this is going to be one of my favorite tanks now. And having the seat right here, being able to sit and just watch these magnificent fish graze on these algae covered rocks is going to be a real treat. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks.